doesn't the fact that CNN had Barry Weiss on suggest that actually they know that there's, I mean, it looks to me like there's a full-blown backlash underway against cancel culture, and that's just beginning. And CNN having Barry Weiss on is a way of saying, hey, we know we took a hit over the Sanjay Gupta thing and the ivermectin thing with Joe Rogan. We're going to have Barry Weiss on. I noticed the New York Times just recently gave a column to my friend John McWhorter, who's a famous kind of liberal critic of woke politics. His new book is Woke Racism. And I kind of look at that and I go, that's the establishment responding to this long-form podcasting alternative journalism. I mean, you got your start in alternative journalism. I mean, I was in the 90s, alternative journalism was hot, but it's almost like it's become where the intellectual center of American life is now, where you don't kind of go, I watched a really thoughtful segment. No one says I watched a really thoughtful segment on CNN. They say I listened to a really thoughtful podcast with Timcast or Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I disagree with you, because after the Rogan Sanjay Gupta thing, CNN doubled down and tripled down on those same exact defunct talking points.
And Sanjay Gupta
came on,
effectively rolled back what he had said on Rogan when he was like, they shouldn't have said that. He went out with Don Lemon. Don Lemon said, it is horse medicine. He goes, you're right.
And he's like, you're right. He's like, yeah.
But it's funny because, of course, though, then that's talked about. Yeah. And so I don't know that CNN doing that helped its own credibility any. I think it probably undermined it.
Do they have any credibility is the question. And I think that Barry Weiss thing was a hiccup. It was a glitch in the matrix, and they're going to go back to their regularly scheduled programming, doubling down, tripling down on whatever the lie that they need to sell the American people on is.
I mean, you might be right. I mean, we have this debate because I would always have this debate with my colleagues over, because, we would point out, look, people are becoming more pro-nuclear. I'm a big advocate of nuclear power, including for climate change, but not just for climate change. And I've been up against the vast majority of environmentalists and boomers on this issue. And we have seen a huge change in attitudes on nuclear over the last 5 years, 10 years. That's why when I Colbert 8 years ago, I've seen just a massive change. And at the same time, people will respond to me and they'll go, well, but the Sierra Club is still anti-nuclear. And it's like, well, yeah, but those are like the last guys that are going to change their mind. So I mean,
Greenpeace will never change their mind.
Yeah, Greenpeace is not going to change their mind. But you wouldn't measure our success by being like, you wouldn't be like, well, there's still a pope, even while acknowledging that Catholicism has significantly declined as a religion in the Western world over the last 500 years.
But there is the issue that CNN could say something and then YouTube will panic and then implement policy based on CNN's lies.
That's very scary. I don't know if you guys have a view of it. I was censored by Facebook last year, and it was very upsetting. It wasn't that, because when you read about censorship in the past, and also some of my favorite Brazilian musicians were censored, you'd always be like, that's so... Those guys were badass. Can I say that? Those guys were real heroes. But when you're censored, it just feels terrible. Like you're just angry and upset. My friend John Stossel just sued Facebook over this, and you just feel angry and like,
Well, that was defamation, though.
Yes,
he's suing over defamation because they accuse him of being fake news.
And it's an interesting thing, though, because when they say they censored me, and when they censored me, and they say Michael Shellenberger said false things, it did feel defamatory to me. I was like, I said true things, and now you're saying I'm saying false things.
You got to sue him.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's disappointing is that I knew people at Facebook. I know people at Facebook, and of course they were just of zero help whatsoever, and so you just feel really alone, and of course you're sort of ostracized.
And there's no recourse. There's no way to even apologize. There's no way to even be. There's no way to even have retribution in any way, shape, or form, or even forgiveness.
You can appeal to the same judge that sentenced you. Mm-hmm. Then that's not an appeals process, right?
Exactly. So this is another layer to it that's cruel and evil in so many ways, because the rules are very kind of generic. Yeah. They implement them on some people and not on others. And then when they do hit you, they destroy your livelihood. They destroy your reputation. They create consequences that could have almost everything taken away from you, not just your Twitter page or TikTok page. I mean, there's some people that can't have an Uber, can't have an Airbnb, can't have a bank account because of their political ideas in this country.
And so what do you do about that?
You gotta build decentralized internet technology where you can also appeal to a jury, like the mine system, if you go for it.
Bitcoin is an answer to the financial situation.
What about social media?
There's alternatives to social media, but again, the big tech monopolies, with the help of government, control the major highways. They were able to build their infrastructure with tax dollars. These are not private entities. They have
Totally
connections to intelligence agencies. They have connections to governments. They work hand in hand. They worked in tandem. And there's an argument of direct government intervention, but I don't believe that the same government that created this problem will be solving it anytime soon.
I think it was what the Democrats in California were sending names to Twitter to ban.
Yep.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, but so like, okay, so I'm interested in Glenn Greenwald. A lot of people are interested in Glenn Greenwald. It became more interesting to me in recent years. He's signed up for this new platform, Rumble.
Yeah.
I watch YouTube. I'm 50, so I'm a lot older than you guys, and maybe I'm just too square. But like, I sit down and watch YouTube, and I see you, and I see Jordan Peterson, and I see Joe Rogan. I don't see Glenn Greenwald. And then so what do I got to do? I got to go into my smart TV and reprogram it to get Rumble. I mean, it was a little bit like, what was the alternative to Twitter that was there for like 5 minutes?
Parler.
Last year, Parler. I mean,
and then they colluded to destroy it.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of go, there's a problem because, we were all sold on these platforms for their ease of use and the idea that you would get to see, I mean, that's what's so exciting about Twitter still is you still get to argue with liberals and conservatives. So now what are we going to do? We're going to have a platform for liberals and a platform for conservatives, and
it's already what it is. It's already what it is.
You build out
Twitter is the people on Twitter who are prominent are like center right. People who are like staunch conservative have been purged or banned. People who are like the far right was nuked a long time ago, except for like some specific individuals. The far left, however, can call for violence, no problem. Then you have the mainstream establishment left can literally advocate for violence, tell people to be violent, advocate for people being thrown into wood chippers like the Covington kids, no problem. And then you could tweet as a joke, learn to code, and get banned. So we see it's basically Twitter is center right to far left. And what that does is it shapes the view of these journalists who think they're centrists because they're in the middle of that, when in reality, they're leftists.
So what do you do about that?
We're building out the Fediverse right now. Are you familiar with it?
No.
It's a federated network of networks, basically. So like things like Mastodon, but basically the way we're doing
protocol.
it is,
it's a social media protocol. So you can create your own social media platform where your content exists. And I'll use Gab as an example. You know Gab?
Heard of it.
Gab is like the first, one of the first alternatives to Twitter because of the censorship. They exist on the Fediverse in that you can use any Fediverse app and follow Luke on Gab. So Luke's username might be like luke@gab.com. I don't know if Luke is on Gab or whatever. But then I could go on, Super Web and then say, I'm going to follow luke@gab.com and see his posts from a different website appearing on my feed on this website. So what happens is there's no central authority to ban Luke.
Okay. But you have like almost 1 million Twitter followers.
Yeah.
You do. I have 1/10 of yours. And so why would you want to go to a platform where you and I would have the same number of Twitter followers? I mean, or the same number of followers. Wouldn't you want to maintain your status superiority on a new platform?
I don't care about the followers.
But ideally,
I think a lot of people do.
Like I certainly like
in terms of the social credit system, it already exists. It's the number of followers you have on Twitter.
Well, no. It doesn't depend because the algorithm decides who sees what now.
I tweeted a picture of a hairless rabbit once.
You did. It was weird.
I like.
Very weird.
I'll put it this way: the people there's two different kinds of people who become prominent. I was talking to a friend who does like day trading stuff, and I'm like, there are people who just want to be rich, who will eventually become rich because they want to be rich. But I think most people who become rich do it because there's something they're passionate about that they pursue, which leads them to being well off.
I agree.
There are people who have Twitter followers because they're genuinely interesting, smart people, or they're, observant, so they can see things before other people. And they're good followers for that reason. And then there are people who try to manipulate and game the system to try and gain followers and are worried, is my tweet getting enough retweets or whatever? I don't care about any of that. I tweet random jokes, nonsense, garbled, whatever, because Twitter is just hilarious. And so...
But for a lot of people, their Twitter followers is really important social capital for their work.
I feel sorry for those people.
It's their identity for many of them.
You might, okay, but so setting aside your views of those people, that's a material reality in the sense that it's an economic reality for people. So I guess I'm raising it not to sort of say is that good or bad, but just to say I think that's an obstacle to wanting to migrate over to a different social platform.
So we're on these videos are on Odyssey, they're on Rumble, they're on
right?
Yeah, BitChute.
Yeah.
And the
just
thing about
everywhere.
Fediverse,
Plus
once
our own website.
you start building it out, you blast out one post to the Fediverse, and it goes to your Minds account and your library account and anybody else that wants to federate. So like it could blast out to your Twitter, and like you can kind of centralize your own funnel.
If
Self-centralizing.
as this project expands, you'll have more access to bigger networks because you'll be hitting 50 instead of 1. So we use YouTube, but I cut down the amount of content I was producing on YouTube substantially to try and focus on building our own website so that we could have a user base there. When we started doing the show, we were getting like 1,000 viewers or 2,000 viewers. And if I was the kind of person who was like, we're not getting enough clicks, then we probably wouldn't be where we are. I wanted to do the show because I had fun doing the show. I wanted to do it. I make YouTube videos because I have fun making videos. I make podcasts because I have fun doing it. If I wanted to make money, there's a bunch of other stuff I could have done. I have friends who work for political campaigns. I'd make way more money. You know, I used to work in nonprofit fundraising, and all of a sudden I had these people wanting to consult because I was making so much money for a lot of these companies, and I hated doing it. It was awful. Just selling stuff and tricking them. And so I just stopped doing it, and then a period of things happened. Occupy happens. I start working in this, and I enjoy doing it, so I keep doing it. When I was traveling around filming breaking news events, I don't know, sometimes you wouldn't get many views or make much money, but it was like I wanted to be there doing something. So it's true, there are a lot of people who are driven by a desire for ego, and that's why you get the New York City establishment media, because these are people who are like, I'm a worthless human being, but if I get hired by the New York Times, then people will think I'm cool. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that, but there's just also a lot of people like, you know, for like a lot of people, like Twitter is too complex. And Facebook is like about where Facebook is where a lot of people have arrived, and it's hard to see them.
It's older people,
adding
though.
apps, using apps. It's true, although
Yeah, the young people are on TikTok.
yeah, although I even see young people just reducing their social media platforms to Instagram.
Yep, Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, and so the idea that we're going to go and make that work more complex for people and that we're going to get mass uptake of it, I'm skeptical of.
You need to simplify it. It needs to be as easy to use or easier than whatever's out there right now.
No, I disagree. So
Or make it modular, so it could be simple or
without
complex.
calling out any individual company, I can just tell you the strategy used by social media companies to become big is so obvious and ridiculously easy. It's simple. What they've done, again, not naming any individual company, but more than one, is they'll create an app, they'll advertise it to high school kids. They will then give those high school kids fake followers quickly, and they will give them fake likes, and they will give them fake comments. And then all of a sudden, you have a new app called Superweb. And some kid shows up to his school, and they're like, where do I follow you? Oh, dude, I'm on Superweb. And they're like, what's that? You're not on Superweb? I already got 10,000 followers. And they go, dude, John's got 10,000 followers, and they all want to download it because they all want followers too. A bunch of companies have done this. Some people have admitted to doing things like this. I think it was Alexis Ohanian who said that in the early days of Reddit, it was him and Steve Huffman pretending to be different people to make it seem like the site had users.
Wow.
Otherwise, no one would want to be there.
Jeez.
Right.
Bigger companies discovered this and started convincing young people they had followers. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Like you mentioned, having that follower count matters to people. So if someone's on Twitter with 3,000 followers, and then they download this new Superweb app, and within 2 weeks they have 10,000, they abandon Twitter, switch to Superweb because that's where their core audience is, so they think. All of a sudden now they're not producing content on other platforms. They talk to people, where can I find you? Oh, I'm on Superweb, I'm getting way more views, way more traffic. That then drives a mass exodus because people think, FOMO. I'm going to go to the other platform. Couple new apps have used this strategy very, very effectively. And I actually had this conversation with some political groups about wanting to do an app like this. This is like 7 years ago. And it's painfully obvious that how it works. So if you really want to play those games and do that, cheaters win. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about. So you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.